What we have here in Gaza is a situation that I think is being overcomplicated by politics and hatred for Israel. You have an Islamist terrorist group, the same as ISIS or Al Qaeda or Islamic Jihad, that has spent the last almost 20 years building a terrorist state and the largest subterranean terrorist compound in order to use its own civilians as human shields in a war to destroy Israel. But those who pretend to care about the lives of Palestinian Gazan civilians are refusing to allow even the women and children to be temporarily relocated so they cannot be used as hostages and they cannot be used as human shields by Hamas. This to me is the most sickening and despicable thing, because the world does not care about the lives of Gazans. They want them to be used as human shields and propaganda because they want to turn around and then blame Israel and accuse Israel of war crimes when it is clear that Hamas is entirely responsible for this war. If Hamas did not attack Israel on October the 7th, they would be still in power, unfortunately, in Gaza.
Okay, Wajahat, your response.
Yeah, with human rights lawyers like Brooke Goldstein, who needs genocidal sociopaths? Brooke Goldstein's the same person who publicly said there's no such thing as a Palestinian person. Well, Israel has killed 61,000 Palestinians in real time. We've seen it with our eyes. Israel has also injured 150,000 Palestinians. Just yesterday, Pierce, just yesterday, Israel killed 83 unarmed Palestinians, 58 of them who were gathered at food aid distribution sites. As you know, as we talked about on your show, Haaretz has said, quoting IDF soldiers, that they were commanded to shoot and kill at unarmed Palestinians who are starving gathered at food aid distribution sites. Since May, Pierce, over 1,200 Palestinians have been killed by Israel. Brooke says anyone who criticizes Israel, right, they're supporting Hamas, promoting Hamas. Each time Brooke says Hamas, take a shot of alcohol, you'll be dead of alcohol poisoning in 2 minutes, right? But the reality is, folks, is that Israel is occupying the West Bank and Gaza. Israel is the one creating a man-made starvation. Just yesterday, Pierce, 8 Palestinian children died of starvation. That number is increasing. Brooke is one of those people who would put a microphone in front of these starving Palestinian kids and say, do you condemn Hamas?
I think what we're seeing now is way beyond any self-defense. And I think the rhetoric that Wajahat talked about from Smodrich and these guys, very hard right members of his cabinet, who somehow get dismissed as not important, but are clearly hugely influential in this government, that they are talking openly about cleansing Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. That is ethnic cleansing. And if you now have, tomorrow night, a decision by the Israeli government to basically go over and occupy the entirety of the Gaza Strip, expelling 2 million Palestinians, that to me is an indefensible ethnic cleansing war crime. Now, you're a Jewish man. What do you say to that?
I'm not anti-Israel, but my government is committing war crimes in Gaza. And the arguments that were presented by Brooke belong in the garbage bin of history. It's an intellectual insult, the kind of things that we heard here that insinuate that there's no such thing as a Palestinian people when there are 7 million Palestinians living between the river and the sea. How can you deny the existence of a people, 7 million people who call themselves, excuse me, let me talk. What Israel is doing should not be tolerated by the Israeli public, nor by anyone in the entire world. This war has to end. Mustafa Barghouti was 100% right that Hamas has given in writing, in English and in Arabic. I received from them in August of last year a commitment to end the war and return all the hostages. And then there was more than 100 hostages that they were holding. But they demand an end to the war. They demand that Israel withdraw from Gaza. They demand a release of Palestinian prisoners. And they demand that humanitarian aid go into Gaza. They also added in writing, twice I've received from them in Arabic, that Hamas will not govern Gaza.
Yeah, I've been invited on your show for the past 2 years, Pierce, and increasingly I feel like I don't have to say anything. We just have to let the pro-Israel advocate speak openly. And then the world, with their own ears, hears the genocidal rhetoric, the cruelty. The world has been radicalized in real time because they have seen a genocide streamed to their phone. Again, I want to remind everyone that 61,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel. That's an undercount. Lancet, the medical journal, says probably 40% higher. Israel has also bombed churches because there are Palestinian Christians that it has killed and occupies. And I also remind people that Israel currently occupies the West Bank. Hamas does not control the West Bank. There are 2.5 million Palestinians there who live under military law, unequal conditions, conditions of apartheid. That's not my words. That's Amnesty International, Jimmy Carter, Desmond Tutu, who knows a thing or two about fighting apartheid. I want to remind everyone, trust the evidence of your eyes where you see starving children, where humanitarian aid is being blocked right now, where there are more child amputees in Gaza than any other place in the world. That's thanks to Israel. More children have been killed by Israel in Gaza than in all the war zones combined in the past 2.5 years. We are seeing it with our eyes. And your guest, Brooke Goldstein, who is, an award-winning human rights lawyer, says there's no such thing as Palestinian person. Folks, what you're seeing right now to my left is a genocidal sociopath. She is the villain. Let me finish. You've spoken a lot. You've spoken a lot. I've kept quiet. I've spoken the least. What you're seeing to my left is Brooke Goldstein. She's going to be the villains of our children's history books. People, speak up, speak out, convince your government to do more. Israel is on a self-destructive path. And I believe people like Gershon, who lives in Israel, he cares about Israel. He cares about Israel's future. He cares about the safety and security of Jews and Palestinians. The path of Netanyahu, the path of Smotrich, the path of Ben Gvir is of Jewish supremacy and extremism. It will annihilate Palestinians. It will make the region less safe, less volatile. By the way, Israel, under Netanyahu's government, has done 35,000 targeted strikes against 4 countries and Palestinians, right? This extremist organization, this extremist regime, the Netanyahu regime, has to be replaced. We need better leadership, and we need a pathway for Palestinians to finally have self-determination and freedom. It's the only way. The path of Brooke is destruction and annihilation for Palestinians, and also it is terrible for Jews around the world. Hopefully, everyone watching looks at the evidence of their eyes and their ears, and the evidence shows you a story of Israeli genocide against the Palestinian people.